Let's talk about biodiversity. Biodiversity is referring to the number of different species in an area. Scientists have identified more than 1.7 million species living on planet Earth. There's different types of diversity. There's diversity of habitat, of individual species, and of genes or genetic diversity. Something you might not know, rainforests are one of the most biologically diverse natural communities in the world, but they are being destroyed at a rate of 74,000 acres per day. It's important to protect biodiversity. For one, it has value to the ecosystem. Species interact with other species to maintain important ecological processes. For example, food webs, the oxygen cycle, pollination, and flood control. Keystone species are referring to species that influence the survival of many other species in their ecosystem. For example, wolves and cougars, both of which used to be in the Adirondacks and are not currently. But wolves and cougars would keep the deer population in check, which would then help our forests survive better. Biodiversity has an economic value, like food, medicine, or other products, or even ecotourism. 1/3 of all medicines come from different types of plants or molds. Aesthetics, how beautiful it is. Ethics, the idea that all species have a right to exist. Let's talk about extinction and endangered species. Extinction is referring to the disappearance of all members of a species from Earth. Endangered means that species is in danger of becoming extinct in the near future. A threatened species is one that could become endangered in the near future. Today, species are disappearing at an extraordinary rate, approximately 30 to 75 species a day. In most cases, these extinctions are the result of human activity. Some causes of extinction. There are natural causes, such as an asteroid, or climate change, or a change in limited resources. Habitat destruction or habitat fragmentation is a major cause of extinction. Pollution of water, air, and soil, for example, DDT, which we'll talk about in class. Poaching, which is the illegal killing or removal of a species, usually for its fur, teeth, or skin. For example, elephants and rhinoceros are both species that have been heavily poached, as well as gorillas. Exotic species or invasive species are species that are not originally in an ecosystem. You can see over here, this is a picture of a zebra mussel, which is not native to our lakes and rivers in New York State, and yet once it comes in, it takes over. Okay, so zebra mussels, purple loosestrife is a plant that is also invasive. Animals are more prone to extinction if they are naturally rare. Okay, many of your top predators, like wolves, like cougars, are naturally rare. Have very specific food or nesting requirements, are very sensitive to change, must compete with invasive species, have small broods and long gestation periods. That means that there are not a lot of babies born. If they migrate, okay, the monarch butterfly has to migrate long distances and has very, very specific food and nesting requirements, which is why the monarch butterfly has seen a large decline in its population. Also, if the animal interferes in some way with people's activity. So we need to protect biodiversity. One way that's done is through captive breeding, which is mating animals in zoos and wildlife preserves. For example, the California condor, as of 1980, there were fewer than 10 in the wild. Now the population is up to 425 individuals living in captivity and in the wild. There have been a number of laws and treaties to protect biodiversity, such as the Endangered Species Act of 1973, which prohibits the import or trading of products made from threatened or endangered species. Habitat preservation protects whole ecosystems. Today, there are about 7,000 nature parks, preserves, and refuges in the world. A great example would be the Adirondack Park.